Hi, this is Teresa Jackson here today with my first mobile app tutorial. I'm going to show you how to create a coloring book type illustration with the Adobe Draw mobile app, similar to the macaw drawing that you see here or this tiger. Both of these were created using just Adobe Draw. Start by tapping on the large plus symbol on the left to create a new project. Now that I'm inside of Draw with a new project, I'm ready to start drawing, but I want to trace a photo for this drawing. And to place an image in Draw, you have to have an image layer. Currently, we only have one Draw layer. I'm going to add a layer by tapping the plus above Draw layer, and that gives us the option to add a drawing layer or an image layer. I'll tap on Image Layer. And from here we see several options of where we can find images. The first one on my iPad is probably the most obvious. That would pull images from your camera roll. If you are using Adobe Draw without a Creative Cloud membership, you're probably going to just use these first two options on my iPad or take a photo. I actually want to find an image that I have in my Lightroom catalog on my desktop that's synced to my Lightroom Mobile and therefore available on my iPad. It's a bit hidden though to find Lightroom Mobile here. It's actually under this third option where it says My Files. I'll tap on My Files. My Files takes me to my Creative Cloud file library. There's a bunch of random images and folders that I have here. But if I dig a little deeper, I can actually find the Lightroom Mobile. I need to tap at the top here where it says Files. And right halfway down where it says Photos, that's actually Lightroom Mobile. I'll tap on that. And you can see as I scroll through here that I have a lot of images synced to my Lightroom Mobile. And in this view, it's going to be really hard to find the image that I want. So I'm going to tap in the upper right-hand corner where the three circles are and switch this to View Collections. And then I have a collection down here that I created just for this tutorial. This image of the rose, or the peach-colored roses, is the one that I want to use. So I'm going to tap on that. And it brings up a nice big preview of the image, and when I tap on Open File, it'll place that into my new Draw project. I want to scale it up a little bit though, so I'm going to zoom out this way and then say Done. If you're zoomed in really far when you place it, you might need to zoom in and then say Done, and then zoom back the whole project back out, and then tap the layer where it says Image Layer, and the first option here says Transform. So I'm going to tap on Transform, and that'll let me scale this up or down and position it onto that canvas. And again, I want to tap Done. I want to lower the opacity of this image so I can see it a little bit better when I'm tracing on top of it. Again, I'll tap on the layer, and then I have an opacity slider, so I'll take this down to maybe 50%. If I tap again on the layer, that'll go away. Now I need to change the layer priority here so that I can put my draw layer on top of my image layer. I'm going to tap on image layer and hold for a brief second, and you'll see that it popped forward a little bit. Now that it's selected, I can simply drag it below the draw layer. Then I need to tap on the draw layer to make it the active layer so that I can start my drawing. Draw offers 5 different brushes plus an eraser. I'm going to use the first brush at the top. It's selected right now. If I tap on the brush, I'll have an option to adjust some of the settings. The first option is the size. If I tap on size and drag up or drag down, you'll see the size change. I'm going to set this to about 20. Now I'm going to be doing this drawing on an iPad Pro with an Apple Pencil, which is pressure sensitive. If you don't have a device that you can draw with pressure sensitivity, you may need to draw with a much smaller size than 20. The opacity is currently at 100%, which is what I want. I'm going to tap and scroll up or down so you can see how you would adjust that. I'll tap on the color circle here to make sure that I have a perfect black. And we can see here with the slider at the bottom that it's not set all the way to black. I could scroll that over by tapping and dragging, and now I have a complete black. Let's just see how this wheel works. I'll take it up to a lighter color. If I tap on the dot or the circle in the wheel, I can drag it around the wheel to pick up different colors. And then the slider below is the luminosity of that color. So if I want to reset to black and make sure that I have a completely neutral black, I can switch on the top here. Right now I'm on Picker. If I tap on Themes, the first theme are colors of gray. That first one looks black, but if I select it and then tap on color again to go back to it and then return to Picker, we'll see with the luminosity slider at the bottom that it's not completely black. So I'm going to, again, tap on that and drag it over to the left so that I have a complete black. If you want that screen to disappear, just tap on color again and that'll go away. I'm ready to start my drawing now, but I want to zoom in a little bit before I do. Using the 2-finger pinch, I can zoom out or zoom in. I want to zoom in on the center. We'll just start this drawing right from the center of the rosebud and work my way out. I like to get in really close so I have a lot of control. And I'm just going to follow the lines and not worry too much about being too perfect. I don't really like how my line kind of wiggled on that, so I want to undo it. This arrow, this curved arrow here at the top is the undo. So we'll undo that and then continue around. I want to make sure that my lines completely touch because I want to close off spaces. And those are the spaces that I'll fill with color when I get the drawing all done. I don't really like how that one worked either, so I'll do the undo. We'll come in here. I do this a lot. I'll draw and then undo, and I'll draw and I'll undo. And if I don't like something that I got, I just undo it and come back. This is kind of a shadow line here. A lot of times I'll follow the lines of the light as well as the lines of the subject. Now, if I don't want to be looking at the user interface here, I can hide it with these 2 arrows here at the top. And then I have a cleaner area. Looks like I accidentally tapped my screen here, so I have this dot. I can undo that with a gesture. 2 fingers, swipe to the left. If I keep swiping, there, we're back to that. I took that dot out there. So we'll go ahead and redraw this again. It's good practice. This is how you get good at it. You just keep doing it over and over and be patient because it's the process that's fun for me. I enjoy the time that I spend actually working on the drawing. Maybe draw a little bit thinner line in here. Again, I want to touch these lines so that they close off shapes that I can fill with colors for my coloring book look. If the lines don't touch, then I won't be able to fill them with color. And I'll show you that when we get to the coloring part. So we're going all the way around. See right here where those don't touch, I need to make sure I join that up. So we'll take this line, draw that around here. Again, here I'm following the light, not the object. This line here actually follows the light, and then I'm going to draw the line that follows the edge of the petal. And that creates a nice shape right there. I can come in here, maybe fill this in a little bit better. Now, if there's a place that I'm not really happy with, like this join here, I can tap on these 2 arrows in the upper right-hand corner again to get back to my tools. Tap on the brush, which will take me back to all the brushes, and then tap on the bottom brush, which is the eraser. I'm going to tap on that again to get to the settings, and I can see that my size is too large on that, so I'm going to tap on size and take it down real small, and then I'll zoom in on this area, and I can be really picky and clean this edge up with my eraser. I can clean this up too. One of the beauties, and for me, honestly, one of the curses of Draw is that it's infinitely scalable because it's vector. So let's zoom out here. This is the drawing that I've done so far. if I zoom in, I can continue zooming in. I can continue zooming in. There's no limit because this is a vector drawing, which allows you to be incredibly detailed and maybe a little bit too OCD about what you're doing, like that. I'm going to squeeze this together to zoom it back out, zoom all the way back out, and position this, and you can see how far I've gotten. I'm going to continue working on this drawing, and I'll come back when it's finished and show you how to fill in the colors. All right, I've finished the line drawing part of this, and I even went through and thickened up some of the lines and cleaned up some other ones. Now I want to see how my drawing looks without the photo distraction. I don't see my layers on the right-hand side, so I'm going to tap on the layer icon on the top, and that brings the layers out. If I double tap on the image layer, it will hide it so I can see what this looks like. There's a few things that I want to clean up, so I'm going to do a little bit more work on this and then I'll be back. All right, I'm pretty happy with how this is looking now, but there's one last thing I need to do before I can start filling the shapes with color. I need to put a frame around it so all of those shapes around the outer edge are closed off. I could try and draw a straight line freehand, but there's an easier way if I use the shapes, the app shapes, and that's this button here at the top. I'm going to tap on that and we'll pick the basic rectangle shape, which looks like a square, but if I click and drag on the arrows here, I can change this into a rectangle. Now I'm just going to have to keep fiddling with this until I get the right size. I'm going to pinch and two-finger pinch and drag out, and it looks like I'm getting pretty close. I need to bring the width of it down a little bit. There isn't any way currently with Draw to set a size or a proportion for your canvas, so this is the only way that I can figure to make it work at this point. Looks like I need to go wider. That's kind of a pain. It's such a challenge to try and get this to line up on all four sides that I'm just going to line up two sides and draw along those. When you have the app shape enabled and you draw along the edge, it will draw a perfect straight line. Now if it gets thick or thin, that's the pressure sensitivity of the pen that's doing that. So those sides look pretty good. And then I'll just pull this down so that I can get this edge down here. The most important thing is that I'm closing off those shapes so that I can fill them with color. We're just about there. Okay, I can fix that by hand. So I'm going to click the X, tap on the X right here, which will make the app shape disappear. And then with my eraser, I'll just clean this up a little bit. It's not that important that the frame be perfectly square. It's just an easier way to do that than to go in and try and by hand draw a straight line. But again, the most important thing is that all of these lines actually touch, because if they don't touch, then I can't fill the shape. I'll leave a couple of them open so we can see what happens here. I'll leave those two open. I'll come through here. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now is probably a good time to name this drawing. And to give it a name, you have to close out of it. So I'm going to tap the word close, which takes me back to my projects. And now if I just tap where it says project, that takes me into a text field where I can give this a name. Now to get back into the drawing, I just tap on it. We're ready to color the drawing now, and this is the easiest part of all of it. It really doesn't matter which brush you use. I'll take this first or the second brush here that's got a teal color. If I just click and hold in a shape, it'll fill it. So I can go through here and start randomly filling colors. If I use this third brush here that's yellow, I can do the same thing. So I'll just click and hold, click and hold. Sometimes in the small areas, it may not work. It worked there. Sometimes, like there, it didn't, but then I held on to it and then it did fill it. So occasionally, if it paints a brush instead of filling it, just hit your undo button and fill it again. When I tap and hold to fill this section here, it actually fills both of those. Let's zoom in real close and you'll see that it looks like they're touching, but obviously the app is not seeing that these 2 points are touching. So if I go back to my black brush and just connect this a little bit better, and then let's just pick the teal brush and tap and hold here, and then that fills with teal. I'm going to zoom all the way out so that I can show you what happens if you try and fill a shape that isn't completely enclosed. We'll zoom in on this corner, switch to my eraser, and just break this. Then I'll switch back to the teal brush and tap and hold, and I get that warning symbol that says it can't be filled. The reason why it can't be filled is because it's not a completely enclosed shape. So if I undo that last eraser move and tap and hold, it'll now fill fine. I like to use a lot of color in my drawings, so let's take a look at the different ways that we can get color. I'm going to tap on the brush, which will bring up the settings. And this last one down here is the color. I'll tap on color. Right now I'm in the wheel under picker. And from here I can drag this around, pick up different colors, and adjust the luminosity. From wheel, if I tap on wheel, I can switch to RGB sliders, another way to change the color, or I can switch to history. I like to use the history panel after I've got pretty far in my drawing and I have a lot of colors collected. Then I just go back to the history to reuse ones I've already used. The next one after picker is themes, and these are a bunch of boring default themes that come with the application. The next one across from that says for draw is actually a Creative Cloud library that I created for this tutorial. And I collected some colors. I actually went to adobecolor.com, found some colors I liked, saved them to this library, and now they're available within app for me. So I'm going to pick a color here and start adding that color to different locations. And I'm going to go through this whole drawing, adding a whole assortment of colors until I'm happy with the way it looks. All right, I spent a little time playing with colors and cleaning up some of the lines, and I finished my illustration. I'm really happy with how it turned out. At this point, I've got just really one option to get this out of Draw and retain the vector format that it's in. I'm going to tap on this fourth icon here and we'll see what options are under there. The third one down, send to Illustrator CC. This is currently the only way to send a draw project out of Draw and retain the vector graphics. Send to Illustrator Creative Cloud requires a Creative Cloud membership and Illustrator installed on a desktop or a laptop. A completely editable vector graphic will open in Illustrator with this method. Copy image to Creative Cloud sends a rasterized PNG file to your Creative Cloud file library. Publish on Behance is a great way to go directly from Draw to sharing this online. The key to that is that the image that will be shared on Behance is cropped accordingly to the view that you currently show when you tap on Publish to Behance. I'll tap on this to hide it. So for example, if I zoom in this far and then go back, say Publish on Behance, the image that gets published on Behance will be cropped to the view. Well, that's it for this tutorial. I hope that I've inspired you to try an illustration of your own using Adobe Draw.